Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
Or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
And inspire you to do even greater things.
Before we jump into today's conversation, a special thanks to PM Power Consulting for encouraging and supporting this show right from the start. With over 1,000 person-years of collective experience, PM Power has helped many organizations, teams, and individuals chart out their own journeys of excellence and make progress. Thank you, PM Power. Now, let's move to today's episode. Today, I'm in conversation with Bhargav Bhikkaji, a tech leader, entrepreneur, and founder-CTO of MajorDomo Inc, with deep expertise in cloud and Gen AI-driven enterprise software. In today's episode, Bhargav shares his inspiring journey from his early interest in physics and mathematics to becoming a DevOps pioneer. Initially focused on engineering and computer networking, Bhargav's career path led him through various roles at HCL Cisco and Dell before transitioning to an entrepreneurial venture. He describes the challenges of moving back to India, starting a consulting business, and eventually founding a company that focuses on DevOps and AI deployment solutions. Bhargav emphasizes the importance of understanding customer needs, continuous learning, and staying grounded through personal practices like long-distance running. Listen on. Hi, Bhargav. Welcome to the Software People Stories.
Thanks, Shiva. Thanks for having me in this episode. Love to share whatever I've gained and love to hear more from you as well. Thanks, Shiva, for having me in this conversation.
Yeah, but this is about your story. I'll try to keep my story.
Sure.
Whether it's a conversation, there's nothing prepared. But just to have some kind of a contour for this, we'll start with your origin story. Maybe how you started, how you got into IT, and what the things that you've been doing.
I started into IITs. Won't call it accident, but I was more interested in physics and mathematics right from my school. So I was pursuing for typical Chennai guy, or people who study want to do engineering, wanted to get into IIT. When I did my 12th, I was selected in the extended merit list.
Okay.
So then I don't know what is the format now. They used to have about 1,500 extra ranks they would give. So I was around 3,096 towards the end. So that gave me a confidence that, okay, if I prepare one more time, I will get into IIT, of course. That didn't work out. I sat at home for a year, prepared, but I didn't get through. But what it did me was an interest into physics, especially, and maths quite a bit. Now, when I continued that in my graduation and all that, though computers initially was a bit boring from COBOL perspective, started with COBOL, and when people say x equal to x plus 1, mathematically that was wrong. I was not able to accept it. I never understood you're having a register called x and you're incrementing it x plus 1 and restoring it. That mental model was not there. I thought something is really wrong with computers. But one subject along the lines that interested me was computer networking. That had a lot of physics components, that had mathematics, which I wanted. So I kind of really studied that aspect of computer science alone really well. Bit of architecture, then went into architecture, bit of algorithms quite a bit, because algorithms also had a lot of mathematics in it. So I was, right from my college, I was very sure that I wanted to be in the field of computer networking, even getting into even before getting into any third, fourth semester or fifth semester. So I was pretty sure on that side. I was very focused on computer networking, understanding the concepts. So I landed in a company called HCL Cisco in Chennai. So more on networking side and sort of understanding how computer networks, how packets get forwarded. So the job was very interesting. So from day one, I liked what I did because it was more closer to what I wanted. And I started, of course, meeting a lot of people who understood how really it works. Till then, it was more of a bookish knowledge.
Okay.
Then I was starting to lay my hands on how things works, how computer routers work, how switch work from a Cisco. Cisco was way forward in all this.
Yeah.
So, and I did meet a lot of very interesting people who helped me to understand the concepts really well in my career in HCL Cisco. So I started to read about a lot of different papers, different architectures, different literatures that is coming out of many colleges, professors. So that interest was always there in me throughout the journey. So around 2007-8, I joined a company called Forsten, again purely on networking side, MPLS, routing protocols, BGP. Very into the networking stuff. Then this company was through this company I went to the US, stayed there for some time. Company was acquired by the Fortune was acquired by Dell, so I went into Dell around 2015. What happened was started to realize that there is no new innovation in computer networking. So we were trying to do the same thing in different fashion. By then I was having filed a lot of patents. By then I was having about 23 patents. So, I started feeling that there's nothing new coming out. Around that time, this Google open sourced something called Kubernetes, a platform that for running the containers. So somehow my interest kind of got into that. I really spent a lot of time understanding this whole Kubernetes. That's where my journey as a DevOps engineer started. DevOps, people typically think a system administrator becoming a DevOps, but actually there is a lot of technical component that really excited me at that point. And then understood the overall deployments, observability, security, kind of learned everything around what is needed to make a production grade deployment for an enterprise grade software. Then 2019, towards the end of 2019, I decided to move back to India. I took a lot of, I tried searching the job from US, but nobody were willing to offer, saying that, hey, you have come to India, we'll go. So I said, okay, let's not try to push too much. We'll go to India with a leap of faith. We'll see what happens. So came back to India just 10 days before COVID lockdown.
Okay.
Of course, we found a house, luckily, stayed. But in the span of those 10 years when I was not here, I lost all my connects here. So that's what I realized. And sitting at home due to the lockdown, finding a job, connecting to people and all that was complicated. It was really tough. So I was at home for 3-4 months, looking to see what I need to do, sort of. Then I do run marathons. So my running friends, they were running companies. I reached out to them. So that contact, whole throughout my career, one thing that have stayed is my running buddies from the day one, who are all being, from Chennai running group or running there. That contact has kind of maintained. So those people started reaching out. Hey, I need help on Kubernetes. I need help on these aspects. Can you help out? So I started as a consulting, business in terms of individual consultant. So at some point, I realized there is a need for this, especially on the Indian side of the market, rather even in the US. So I kind of started a company doing consulting, fully 100% services at initial point of time. Then, of course, while doing consulting, I kind of felt that scaling is becoming a problem. So I had to figure out a way where I can automate many things, create a platform where I can reduce so slowly I can start reducing the amount of consulting work that I can do. So that way, every next customer, I will have a new feature that will help me to reduce my work. But interestingly, what happened was so much consulting that we have done, and we have seen a lot of customers. By doing, rather than I imagining this is what customer wanted, we went from customers to building a product.
Okay.
So then what we said, we'll do a full DevOps as a service with the product. So we reduce the cost of customers dramatically by about 70-80% because the product that we have, and we'll have one DevOps engineer. Today, we will call it DevOps engineer, but today the term is FDE. Forward deployment engineer, the Palantir kind of, has made it more popular. But that's what we were aiming to do, to understand what customer want and how we can insert ourselves. And we also understood 20% of the work is always going to be, very specific to a customer. So 80% I can have something which is common to everybody. So this is how we kind of reduce the need for the people. Now, as the time progressed, by then DevOps market, Kubernetes was pretty old in the US, and India, sort of people were wanting it, getting paid was becoming difficult, typically. This AI side of the story, AI deployments, so it has opened up a big market, be it in the US, be it in India. We find there's a lot of need for this, and that's where we didn't pivot. It's actually an expansion of what we are already been doing, but in a more very generic, expanded way, if I want to call it, right? So that's where we are today, Shiv.
Yeah, wonderful. I think there are a lot of curiosity triggers that I have.
Sure, we'll go ahead.
Yeah. So when you said initially that it is about the interest was in networking and algorithms and so on. Now, particularly when you are into networking, some of the other aspects also come in. Algorithm, one is about the logic part, the other is the performance part. Then you have the security aspects, the stability aspects, and so on. And if there are multiple pieces, if anything goes down and all that. So how was your exposure to that, or how did you find that either adding complexity or making it more challenging for you?
Yeah, so one thing I have found myself in the whole thing is I never stay with what I do centrally, right? There's some, as any organization expects you to do something that is core for you. I always try to look at the adjacent areas. For example, when I started in Cisco, I was in the security group.
Okay.
So I started in a security group. Sort of, it's very a person who's into career very early cannot get the whole of security, but I tried to understand different aspects of security. But one thing that I found lacking at that point was I had to understand the core networking to really make security better. That was my thinking at that point. So I transitioned into the core security, core networking protocols. Then the security aspect started becoming much more easier. Now, when I understood the core networking, then the deployments aspect of it, and telecom deployments, and enterprise deployments, and data center deployments, which had variations of it. So every time, of course, the architecture, not the deployment architecture, the software architecture, the hardware architecture, why people are building this type of an hardware, how people are disaggregating the software, hardware. So all that conversations were very interesting and became part of, general thinking, discussion, talking to customers. So I was with the CTO organization at Dell in the US. So that also enabled me to have these conversations with my colleagues internally, as well as, other companies, my customers, every time discussing many aspects. So that really had a real interest in me to expand in the networking side of the story. Very similar, I found it with Kubernetes. Though we started with the core Kubernetes, but we had to expand on security side, how to improve performance. Then the DevOps piece, right? How do I do a deployment CI/CD? Exactly that we are finding it in the AI component also. The Gen AI side, there's an AI gateway. Then there is the agent deployments, MCP deployments, my private model. How do I manage? So the overall arching every aspect is part of the product, and interest also how we want to deliver a right platform to our customers. See, initially the conversations are important. We need to understand where customers are, what is the gaps that they have, how we want to fill it. And it is part of our DNA to understand every as much as possible, not to say every aspect. We try to understand and make it available. So every other field, right, from the core, we always try to see what are the adjacent areas and try to expand.
Okay. Now, particularly when it comes to networking, again, stepping back a little, it's quite likely nowadays that you have multiple vendors playing. So the question of compatibility and whatever you create and whatever pace at which the other pieces are moving, how do you kind of guard against that, and how do you think future, particularly when you are now providing services or solutions which probably use the technologies from different publishers?
Yeah. So one thing in the networking field which we found, right? Initially, when I came into networking, there were standards like IETF, IEEE, who said how interoperability between two different vendors have to work. There's a defined standard, all that was happening. So it was easy for anyone to, understand the standard and say, hey, this is how things needs to work, and go from there. As the industry progressed, the main hardware component, it sort of thought out to be speeds and feeds, nothing more. So it kind of became, stable even in the last decade itself, early last decade. So a lot of things happened towards the edge of the networking in the Linux side of the story, right? Linux or hypervisors, where people added any new stuff on the networking on the edge. Now, what they smartly did was they made sure the underlying, they built on top of the underlying building blocks. So you want to add some an extra new networking stuff, you don't do it on the hardware, but you do it on the software. But it still runs on the old hardware protocols it is. So they made that as smart as possible, and you go from there. So that way, this interoperability between different vendors kind of taken care. Now, the challenge that we find today, when I compare it, when I look back, and when I compare it today with what is happening in the Gen AI, that doesn't exist. Every vendor comes up with own standards. Every vendor, everybody has a framework. Now, which framework, how does it will work? There is no standard. So we are going to be, from a Gen AI world, until the standard comes in, until somebody pushes, until, for example, in cloud also we found very similar pattern. Everybody, for example, cost optimization, cost management. Every cloud provided a bill which is very complicated to understand, and everybody had their own bill format. Only if you understand your billing, then only you can say where I want to optimize. Right? Now, everybody had a different. Then there's an organization came and said, hey, I want to standardize this. Everybody, every cloud vendor, please have your bill with this format. So things will evolve, but it is going to take some time. While we have already, in the networking world, it was already done. It is already in existent. I still, since I'm out of networking world for past 7-8 years, I think it's still, everything is same, not much as, something, all the standardization continue to exist. something has to happen for the AI world. While the cloud, it was evolving, things got kind of churned because of the Gen AI stuff.
Yeah, the reason that question came to my mind was also another thing that you mentioned about the number of patents that you have.
Mhm.
Now, patents in general discourage sharing, right?
Mhm.
It's probably a mode to protect your IP.
Yeah.
Uh, so the questions related to that is, do you take a problem at first, look at what is patentable, and then develop it further? Or once something is done, you try to see uh, how it can be patented?
See, there is no right answers. In fact, the answer is both.
Mhm.
So when we started, I mean, when I started the whole patent thing, whatever I found it interesting that can be done differently,
Hmm.
which optimizes some algorithm or speed or something new way of looking, that's what we patented. So
Hmm.
when I started interacting with customers, there was real business problems.
Hmm.
Then I understood those problems, how I can patent it,
Hmm.
right? Then there are many ways. Why can't I do this completely differently,
Hmm.
right? So the patent comes from many different angles that I can look at and try to something do
Hmm.
very innovative. That is not non-obvious is the word they use, which is non-obvious, and also something very something that is solving a real problem. So something may have a performance optimization, does better than what the current state of art is. All that, right? So to answer that model, it can come from any ways. But as we have progressed, right, the more sensible thing that's what I feel today is, whether patent is right or wrong, charitable, that's maybe a different debate. But saw something that really helps to solve the customer problem, a business problem,
Hmm.
is how I look at it. Now, why it also keeps from an individual perspective is interesting, because I try to increase my boundary of a learning from what I know to what I'm trying to solve. So
Hmm.
it's a method for me to keep myself motivated, interested, to push the boundary which I already have. So that is the reason which I found, uh, uh, having at least from a patent perspective, from an individual patent perspective, is interesting. Otherwise, we may stick with our own boundary and thinking, hey, we'll try to innovate around that. That
Hmm.
may not, I mean, that has a limited interest. Maybe you
Hmm.
can bring in different scopes and ideas as you do this patent. Of course, at a larger context, patent was open source, always a debate.
Yeah, that's going
I
to be
don't
my
know.
next question. Yeah. Yeah.
So patent versus open source, right? Yes, I mean, from an organization point of view, I mean, open source also, I am not seen it as really open source until the Linux is the first one, right?
Mhm.
Now, if I see all the open source component that is coming, everybody has a certain reason why they open source it. There is no real reason of making it available to the masses, the general masses. Okay, I have a business need. I open source it because I can make people to start using it for free. And once they start getting, either I can make money through the professional services,
Hmm.
or I can provide an enterprise version which is more stronger, better, and all that, right?
Mhm.
So there is always an underlying intent with which they work. I mean, including the big guys, I would say, the hyperscalers.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's how it works out. And as you see off late, right, last 2 3 years, everybody changed their licensing open source
Yeah.
model, and because of many issues that has been there.
So the other thing related to patents and let's say startups, or if you're working on something innovative, nowadays with the speed at which one needs to take it to the market versus the typical timelines that you need if you have to patent something.
Mm-mm.
So as a startup or as a growing startup, how would you kind of balance these?
See, this discussion we do have it on a regular basis,
Mhm.
especially with tools like ChatGPT and all. They give you a better patentable solution than what we have, right? That's always a challenge. So the intent of patent, how far, if I patent it, what is the value is always the question that we keep asking, even today. To be honest, we don't have an answer, but it is more from a safeguarding ourselves perspective, right? Now, the way we are thinking is, if something is idea that I can build up, and we are doing something already, something like that, file a provisional patent, so which it's immediate, which is cheap. You file it as the government kind of says, the US or Indian government, who files it first is important. So you just file it and keep it. Then we can look at whether this can be patented in the future, whether you get the patent, right? Now, if my competitor is, will also do something similar, if they patent it, we have a disadvantage. So go ahead from a business point of view. We'll figure it out later.
Shifting things a little bit with, say, this approach of trying to create these moats, saying that mine is going to be unique, or I want a little lead against somebody else who wants to catch up, and so on. The point that you mentioned about learning about customers' real needs and then trying to come up with solutions for that. Would having a patent kind of influence the approaches that you would like to take, or you would
Yeah, definitely, right? I've seen in one conversation, we had a patent applied this long time back. In a BGP area, we had a patent, applied for a patent, and we took those patents to one of our marquee customers, Microsoft. They liked it, and we had a very strong discussion around the patent. Right now, the whole point that we still see with the customers even today is that whether they buy the product, they buy the solution because of the patent you have or not. But the fact that you show that you understand how things are done, how things are sold, that gives them a lot of confidence to sell other parts of the business as well. So that we still find that's an important aspect. So having those conversations, having an open, back and forth, if you have some ideas, you share with them. Of course, you protect it from a patent point of view, you share with them, and you help them to increase their thought process. It's a really valuable way to make yourself more valuable in the company. Whether you sell your product, whether you sell your services, doesn't matter. But that gives a lot of comforting factor for the customers that yes, I am dealing with somebody who understands the space well, who are also looking in a very similar fashion I'm looking at. I can at least bounce an idea, get support from them, and go from there. Right? So that is something we find it very important time and again.
Okay. I have one related question that I'll come back to probably a little later. Now, looking at the transition that you mentioned, when you came back to India and then COVID and all that, how was that transition from being a technical person to an entrepreneur for you?
Yeah, that being a technical guy, two things, right? Being technical in US West Coast. I still tell a lot of people, hey, don't go by West Coast people. Learn the technology from them, but sell it in other East Coast or in other places. Don't even engage with, don't try to do a business with West Coast guys. You will feel you are idiot. They are always on the bleeding edge. They are always smart guys, bleeding edge. But when it comes to selling, it's a different ball game, right? So exactly same. I thought if I had a shiny solution, that's the best things people will buy. No. What I understood was something simple, something that works. Whatever problems that we think we manufacture problems and think that is what customer wants, no. It has to come from customers. So for the first year when I built the product, I did this mistake of what I think is right should customer do.
Mm.
But then I stepped back and when I read a book called 0 to 1, then I said, okay, this is not the way to approach. Let me step back. I have customers. I'm doing consulting. I have connect with the customer. Let's see if I can find a common pattern, go from there.
Mm.
So even today, 80% of the features that we do is from what customer wants. Maybe 10% we want to try, 10-15% I want to try and play the trick and see which is good or not, all that. We keep doing that. Largely 80% of the things is from what customer wants, what we are seeing. It could be very simple. It could be, nothing rocket science. I mean, nothing smart, but that's what sells, right? If you sell, if you do something what customers can immediately use, go from there, reduce their time, money, and increases their value, definitely nothing like that. But it takes a long time, work with a lot of customers, understand their pain. I mean, they even don't know what is their pain points. So that's another reason that we insert ourselves to figure out what pain points they have, right? And then go and build the product. So the next customer has one more feature that reduces his pain and go from there.
So you also kind of mentioned one word there, say what they want to use or what they can use immediately.
Yeah.
In addition to what they want, how does the when they want it affect the lead time or the ability to take your own time, think about it, and then create a generalized solution versus just going and then doing a point fix?
So there, we have found there's no right answer, right? There are customers who want something. Today, people, whatever they ask, there's always an immediate need that they want it. Now, whether they use it or not is a different question, but they want it now. If you delay it by 3 months, the chances of you putting your solution with the customer is very low, is what we see of late. So it is always a tricky situation. We have found in certain times we said, okay, we'll get a third party solution, put it in, go from there, because we don't have a choice. Or it could be as good as some automation services that we'll do if it is really immediate. Okay. In some cases, we weigh out and see if the customer can wait. We can give him something else at this point of time and buy some time for a couple of months, put it in the product and go from there. In other cases, if we can't do anything, if it is really a problem that is keep coming from many customers, I should have done it by now. If it is one-off or something, then yes, it can wait is what the thinking process is. So again, if we take it, there's no one general rule that we follow at this point of time. We would love to follow one general rule, but we take it customer to customer, feature by feature point of view. And we can afford to do that given that we are small today too.
Yeah, that's what this whole startup thing. So when you are responsible not just for your deliverables, as an individual consultant, maybe you have that much more control and you can decide when you want to do what. But then when you have a team, how does that dynamic change both the load on your time as well as how you look at acquiring business, growing business, etc.?
Yeah, so we definitely have to have put multiple hats. Right, when I started literally doing every admin work, recruitment work, coding, looking for customers, so on and so forth, right? But, as the time progressed, certain departments, certain thing which is, of course, we hired admin, we had more engineers developing the product. But one thing that customer conversation, customer, whatever services we do, and also what in next 3-6 months that how we need to, from a product management point of view, those things, I being the CTO, I would love to be in center of all these activities While I have a development team which looks at the development, but again, closely work with them from what is the expectation, how a feature has to be developed, work with the customer team, understand the daily problems, why they're asking for a feature, so on and so forth and all that. And then having that customer connect, future or the current is very important. From a GTM perspective, I've got a CEO in the Bay Area. So he looks at the GTM and bringing in the customers, and we try to convert it. So it's kind of a disaggregated, but from two things are very important in my perspective. Being in the center of customer conversation, be it current or be it in the future or customers that we have lost, having that conversation and being in the middle of things is very important for us to figure out the problem, because the product market fit is also a moving target. I can't have, from the way it looks as of today is I can't have one product market fit and make sure it will work for next 2 years. No, that doesn't happen. We have to keep adding the value and increase the product market fit. That is something we are seeing it almost daily, right? So that's a need that we have to move towards.
So this thing about product market fit, I'm curious because the solutions that you develop are not for end users, right? Like what we call. These are for the technical people who are going to consume this.
Yeah.
So when it is a developer tool or an infrastructure related tool, we find that there are so many variations, so many preferences that each person has. So how do you cater to that kind of variability or variety? Or what you do is something that is common for everyone?
Yeah, so that is the hardest part, right? Now, what part? See, if a customer needs 100% of something, customer A has 100% of something, in a DevOps or an AI gateway. Customer B also will have something same, right? 100%, but his 100% will be different from customer A or B will be different. Now, the whole point of product market fit is to figure out what is the common thing between A and B. Now, if I go to 10 customers, what is the common thing that I can have as a feature so that conversation is moved on? I can have only a conversation on what is specific to him. Right. So that is the hardest part. That is where initially as a startup, every founder has to strive to do that. We cannot delegate that aspect of work to somebody. The moment that is delegated, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, not trying to figure out that part. I think that is not going to happen. At least that's what I feel. Until I figure out this is a common part that I can have with all the customers. Other small 20% I can add as a peripheral thing, then it's fine. That is one way. The second way is, given that we are in a very highly sophisticated technical piece, there are a lot of customers that they expect how things have to be done. Now, if you provide your opinionated way of doing it, they are ready to buy if they believe you can solve the problem. So that way, we are commonalizing how things have to be done as well. Okay. So if you already have a very strong technical, the customer is very technically savvy, typically you see in the Bay Area, then the conversations are much difficult. While, when I say Bay Area, West Coast, right, where they always are on the bleeding edge. But there are a lot of customers on the other side of the world where they need help. Now you tell them this is what it is and you have proven it, right? It's not by just words and PPTs, etc. You have enough data and you show them and they are willing to, go with it. And we find the process is very repeatable in that sense.
So how do you articulate the value proposition for MajorDomo?
See, there are 2-3 ways. One way we do is, hey, today, for example, you want to deploy, I'm talking about today's terms, maybe
Mhm.
1 year back or 6 months back, I talked about our cloud ops solution, cloud infrastructure bring up and all that, right? Very similar. I mean, there's no difference in terms of messaging, but I probably would put it from an agent's point of view. Now, let's say you as a customer wanting to deploy agents, right? Now, this you have written a set of multi-agent solution for us, let's say for a ticketing system, right? Ticket booking system. You have about 10 agents that you want to deploy and make sure you want to get the best out of your LLMs, all that, right? Now, to deploy that at a production grade, there are many things, many challenges that exist. For example, you have to take care of security, you have to take care of cost, you have to take care of behavioral patterns of the LLM, and you need to have a mechanism to have cost governance, performance, all that. So we at MajorDomo making sure that we left shift your security, your performance, your cost, and the scale aspect from day zero itself while you design the whole system. So you don't have to think about all this, have specific people for security, for cost management, for automation, for all that, right? You don't have to build a whole team. We bring in all the team everything as part of our consolidated platform, and you go from there. This reduces your cost dramatically. I'm still figuring out what is the cost for deployment of AI agent, but in a cloud ops infrastructure, people you spend about 500K per annum with one architect, 2-3 DevOps engineers for a 30-member team. So from 500K to 100K. Now, maybe in AI side, maybe it's a couple of million and we reduce it to 500K. So that's the value proposition in terms of cost, in terms of speed, and in terms of bringing every aspect during the design phase itself, rather than thinking after deployment.
So this is maybe a little out of syllabus question, more for my curiosity to understand. So when you have all these agents deployed and you have this orchestration platform that can take care of all these things, who will handle any rollbacks that may be required?
See, there are the persona that who will do it, right? Now, depending on the type of organization, who are in what type of organization, right? An SMB, developers develop the code. Okay. Data scientists are people who play with the data. Then there is ML ops engineer and DevOps engineer. Now, these two are sort of folded into ML ops, DevOps, cloud ops, FinOps, sort of security. Security is also a little bit, because the CISOs doesn't do any automation. CISOs stay with saying, hey, this is what needs to be done, but you have to bring it in your pipeline. So the DevSecOps people. Now, all this get folded into one persona in an SMB called DevOps. If lack of better word, I don't have it. People call it DevOps. Now, this DevOps guy who looks at many things doesn't have the capability to think through. It's not just one or two guys doing it. It needs a very solid engineer. So that is from a persona point of view in an SMB. Now you slightly go into a mid-market, right? There'll be a cloud ops team who will create an infrastructure. Then there is a DevOps team. So now, again, depending on where we sell, we want to sell it at the infrastructure level or the business unit level, right? Now, what we sell caters for both the teams right now. Okay. The third part, when you come to enterprises where you have a typically AI center of excellence today, cloud center of excellence exists, and you have a lot of business unit. What they want to do is they want to standardize all the tool sets so that for them it is easy for, when the business unit starts using it, you have a standardized tool, standardized model, whatever business requirements you kind of get in terms of security, in terms of scale, perform, all that, right? So this is the team that we try to sell it. Okay. And this team wants to add more and more value because this is not a cost center team. This is an internal team that is providing services to the different, their customers are internal business unit. So they want to add as much as value to the business unit so that they become more relevant, stronger, etc. Right. So, so we help them to, make things better for their internal organization. So that's the persona we are going after.
Yeah. What I had in mind was probably a little more specific in terms of a transaction rollback. When you have multi-agents all participating and then hit the failure somewhere. Now, these agents could be from, again, different vendors or doing different things. Then from a business transaction integrity perspective, we need to be able to roll back.
Okay.
So somebody to detect that and then flag that.
Interesting question, right? Yeah. I want to touch upon something called evaluation that is becoming more and more stronger. Without evaluation, see, in earlier days, if something goes wrong, how do you test it? Right? Pre-agent days, you had a unit test, you had a regression test, integration test, penetration test, feature test, so on and so forth. Right? So typically you have a testing scripts that will do that. But today, what has happened is you are not testing the code anymore. You are testing the behavior of the LLM. Okay, so that's where the change, something new that is coming is an evaluation. Okay, now let's say, I mean, these are all the daily discussions we are having in our organization. Let's say your agent has to take a specific flow, a workflow. It has to take a step A, step B, step C, and step D to complete the whole workflow. Suddenly, the agent is taking A, M, and O. That's a different behavior than what you are looking at. Now, how do you detect that change in a production time? Now, for that, you need right observability tools. You need to collect the traces, logs, what flow it is taking, all that. And then there is a policer kind of thing who will police it and say, this guy is taking a different behavior than what he is supposed to take. I need to stop him. Now, it is easier said than done, but a lot of problems, issues, how we do it, all that is there. But the whole point that people are trying to make sure is they are making sure that agents, when you deploy agents, you run enough evaluation or you're testing such that it doesn't change the behavior, right? That is the process people are attempting. And that is the most difficult process. And that's why we see agents are good for demos, not good for production yet. Now, once you fix this evaluation, how to do a lot of literatures, papers around. I'm hoping by March 2026, this will get resolved and then people will move on to other things.
Okay, nice. So this brings another question up, which is with so many things changing and then probably changing very fast, and then the need to also integrate all this. How do you keep pace with all this?
It is very challenging. We have been talking about a steady state for last 6-8 months. It has never happened. So we don't believe there is going to be any steady state. That is given is what we feel. So things are going to change. Things are going to move faster. Given that, especially a lot of investment, billions of trillions of dollars poured into this AI, we believe this is going to move fast, change fast, bubble is going to exist, all that is there. Keeping pace from our personal point of view is hard. So rather than rather than looking at what is changing, this is something Google has released, that is released, Amazon has released this. Rather than getting tensed, we tend to go from customers. Let's focus on customers. They are also smart. They are also learning. We'll see what they want. From there, we will connect to the dots to what has been there and what we need to do. So our search area, learning area, though we keep a track as much as possible what we can, but the focus is primarily from the customers. Right? That way, we are able to handle it better, is what I feel, and get as much as conversations to customers who are building agents and see what they are thinking. Right? Being in the center of conversation, looking at our customers, current customers on hand, go and the immediate future customers, go from there. That helps us to handle things better. I don't think even organization as big as Cisco can also track what is going on. For example, there is a research paper released by China every 15 seconds. Impossible for anyone to keep track, right? So the best way is to go from customers and connect the dots to what it is, right?
So with so much of excitement and then the dynamism and changes and all that, how do you stay grounded? Are there any personal practices that have helped you, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, running has helped me dramatically, I would say.
Mm.
I mean, I believe any form of exercise helps, right? Running has been running for 30 years, long distance for 20 years. That has helped me, especially, not to get worried and tensed, right? Takes a lot of tension away on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, running has helped me a lot. So I don't want to give up running. So I keep
Good that you're able to make time to do that in spite of all the other pressures.
So I'm okay to move a meeting or postpone one work. Running is an important criteria that I always keep. I want to do it. I'm okay to postpone something because it becomes hard if you don't run. As you delay it, postpone it, if I push it in the evening, mind starts playing up, all that happens. So I want to keep it. I try hard. There are times I miss it. Obviously, I miss it, But yes, I try hard. Given that I have run so much, kind of helps me to say it's fine. When to take a call, when not to take a call, right? So that probably is something I kind of know.
Yeah, on that note, thanks a lot, Bhargav, for sharing your own journey and also some of the insights that you gave in terms of approaching from a customer's need perspective and how you kind of juggle all these moving pieces of technology. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Shiv. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And thank you very much again for your having me in this podcast.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People Stories.
If you like this episode,
please subscribe on your favorite podcast client
and spread the word in your network.
If you'd like to share your story,
contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.